The new one,
Good evening. I'd like to call to order this Monday, October 17, 2022, regular meeting of the Canal Winchester Board of Education. Mr. Roberts, would you please call the roll?
Barnes,
Present.
Muller,
Present.
Mr. George,
Here.
Mr. Kruger,
Present.
Ms. Talley.
here.
Okay, will you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda this evening?
Or not.
There's none. I need an approval for the agenda this evening.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Roberts?
Ms. Talley.
Yes.
Ms. Barnes,
Yes.
Mr. Butler.
Yes.
Mr. George. Yes. Mr. Kruger.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. And we're going to move on to our presentation. So first up, we have the middle school, and we have Mr. Brian Moore.
Good evening, everyone. I want to talk about a couple of things that we're doing at the middle school. First is the program Leader in Me. Comes from Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Functioning People. So we are trying to teach leadership to every student within our building. Create a culture of student empowerment and align systems to drive results in academics. So the question is, why did we bring this to our building? So in looking at some challenges, information collected from our staff back in 2018, 2019, we saw this list of things that we were not seeing leadership qualities within our students. So I think a couple of things, lack of self-motivation, empathy, not having those types of things. So we felt like this program would bring that to the forefront and help our students. Here's some of the data we use as well from 2018, 2019, as well as 19 and 20. Just talking about office referrals, documents, reports, bus referrals. So these are all things that contribute, to why we want to bring this program in. And so the goal this year, not on. The goal this year is to look at those numbers in the spring and see have we met our goals. In talking through a few things, here's our desired outcomes. We want to empower students to become independent learners and active members in their community. We also want to help students prepare themselves for high school and their futures, as well as create self-motivated learners who are empathetic towards each other's differences. And I think that last one is probably the most important one that we really want to drive home with this program. And so the idea with all of this, and as we're navigating through in our second year, is we want to create student-led culture. We want teens to find their voice. We want them to be teaching lessons to each other and helping each other through this process. It was interesting last Thursday during our PD day, one of our teachers, who's also our 8th grade football coach, talked about the impact that he was seeing within the football program, and kids were saying, going through the 7 habits on the field, correcting their own teammates, and trying to create that. And so we're starting to see this really working within our building. And you can see how it correlates to other initiatives. So our 3 E's, our portrait of a graduate. And so this aligns perfectly with that. And the top one is what comes out of Franklin Covey's website. And one of the things that we're going to start doing, is you can see there's a circle for family. That's our next initiative within this program, is now providing our parents and our community with ways to have these conversations with their kids at home. This is our Lighthouse team. So there's a group of teachers who volunteered for this. They jumped on board, and they've done a fantastic job. I do want to give a special thank you to Pat Mariscal and Julie Carson, who are taking the lead on this and doing a lot of the work behind the scenes. But we have teachers from all grade levels, different teams that are a part of what we call the Lighthouse team. We meet the second Tuesday of the month to kind of go through our program, where are we with our students, and then we also have some action teams, which I'll talk about here in a second. But this group, they are the organizers, they're the drivers we meet during the summer as well to kind of plan out what the year is going to look like. When we talk about our action teams, every teacher is on an action team. And so looking at these action teams, there are 3 action teams: leadership, which teaches students to lead, family and community. We have school culture, and then we have academics, which focuses on achieve goals and empower learners. And so one of the things, we met with Jen Russell, who is our person for our district, and she gave us some great ideas last Wednesday on how to bring this home to our parents. And so our community group was really inspired on sending how we're going to include this in our weekly s'mores letters, newsletters, so parents can have just basic Leader in Me conversations with their kids at home. And so our goal is to branch this out, not only within our building, but also at home. How it all started: staff completed the 7 habits last year in their training, and then we completed Core 1 and Core 2 over the summer on their website, and then we are implementing this with students every Tuesday. So that 30-minute connections class on Tuesday, students go straight to connections. Everybody knows, nobody gets pulled for that time because it is very important and valuable that they are in those lessons, and so we can have great conversations. 2 of our 8th grade teachers, they combine their connections classes, and they are having great conversations, very mature. They're seeing a huge difference within their kids. So we're very happy with where we're at just within the first month and a half of school. I think one of the other things too that's starting to work really well is students have a journal that they have to reflect upon the 7 habits of highly effective people. And so students are starting to write some really neat things about how they can change their lives and make things a lot better. And then Pat and Julie created a Canvas course just for Leader in Me for our staff. And so there's a one-stop shop where they can get all the resources they need for that 30-minute lesson on a weekly basis. So that's how we've kind of incorporated this. We're really excited. Like I said, we're in year 1 of really rolling this out to students, but we're definitely seeing the benefits of it as well. Next thing that we kind of molded, something that I brought from Davidson as well as what we were doing here, and this is our 5-star student of the month. Each month, all teams and related arts select 6 students that fall in our portrait of a graduate. So students are chosen based on meeting those descriptions, and then they receive a certificate and they get recognized during lunch in front of their peers. If your child's an 8th grader and they get called up, it's pretty awesome and amazing because Mr. Phillips and Mr. Lennox do a great job, and it's almost like a theater performance, and they get the whole crowd involved at lunch, so it's a lot of fun. But the goal, we want to recognize those students in front of their peers. My goal, once we get the addition to the cafeteria, is to buy a 5-star Student of the Month recognition board where we would place the student's picture in the recognition board for the month. And so we recognize about 52 students every month. So here's a couple of pictures of our students. You see the 2 boys in the middle. We're real happy to be our Students of the Month last month. Here's some of our 8th graders. So yeah, we're really excited about this program, and we're having a lot of fun with it. So it's a great way to recognize students on a monthly basis. Any questions?
Mr. Moore, how many students are participating right now in the Leader in Me program you had just described? Is that
Every student.
Okay,
Yes,
awesome.
we did usually connections. They have places they can go, but on Tuesdays everybody goes straight to connections. So everyone is involved, all 900 plus.
And I'm so happy to hear about the progress that it seems like you all are making already. And I think it's very key just to keep the students engaged, because it's not enough for them just to be present. They have to be engaged. And I think this is a good intervention for that. And kudos.
And I think you're seeing a lot with those large group conversations. They're seeing their peers, step out of their comfort zone, and I think that's encouraging other students to do the same.
I also wanted to point out it's very important that you are including like the family and the parents, because that's also important for them to partner with the school.
And then we're looking at doing some things in the spring with families as well. So there's a lot of things that Mrs. Russell opened our eyes to that we're definitely going to enhance this program throughout the years and years to come.
You all are definitely on the right track, I think.
Thank you. All right.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Moore.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, so next up is going to be a presentation from the CWEA.
Good evening. My name is Marty Lair, and I'm a first grade teacher at Indian Trail. We would like to say, first of all, congratulations to our CWEA member, Beth Hinshaw. She has been awarded the Ohio School Counselor Association Elementary School Counselor of the Year.
Awesome.
Huge honor. She will receive her award during a ceremony tomorrow at the Columbus Convention Center, and it's so well deserved. She makes a huge impact with our children. Also noted, CWEA collected $2,120 for the Brock Strong Foundation. All who donated are invited to wear green or Brock Strong gear on Wednesdays during the month of Brocktober. There we go. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Okay. And next up is going to be public comments. So is there any public voice this evening?
There is not.
There's no public voice. Then we are going to go ahead and move on to our executive report. So first up this evening is going to be our treasurer's report.
Good evening. I'll be the public voice tonight. Speak for the people
There you go.
and their finances. Just want to get into the year over year. Next month, we're going to have a 5-year forecast update. Working on that currently. Income tax collection will be coming at the end of this month. We'll get a really good picture of where we stand year over year with the income tax. First quarter was very good. It was very good last year, but then the second quarter we came back to earth a little bit. So we'll see exactly where we stand, if this is going to be a trend, if we're going to come back and be more than 7% year over year increases that we're expecting. Expenditures all up, trending upward, as would be expected with negotiation increases and staff increases. The supplies is kind of the more alarming one. I dug into this one a little bit because typically we ride around 1.7, 1.8 for a yearly total. But if you remember, we went full 1-to-1 during COVID when we were doing the hybrid status and doing learning from home. Before we were 512, and we implemented the K-12. So that really increased the number of Chromebooks we were purchasing. And then we had a pretty significant textbook adoption during this year, and we didn't have as big of an adoption last year. So that's accumulating the big difference in that. That's pretty much it for the general fund. Any questions on this information that you guys had reviewed?
Do you expect that to level out supplies and materials, or are we going to stay at an increased level like that?
I'm projecting about 2.6 to 2.7 million, so it is going to be up about 600,000. We're going to kind of get together on what the plan is moving forward with what we do with the textbook adoptions and things like that, and if we need to streamline different pieces. So this is one line item that we do control 100%. We can't say that about many of them, but this is one that we can control. So it kind of comes down to, we want to keep the 1-to-1 K-12? Do we want to continue to do textbook adoptions every year on a 5-year cycle? Those types of things. So those are discussions that we will have internally. Because as you spend money here, you're obviously taking away from other spots in the future. If all those things are needed, then we'll just increase supply budget and move forward and look to reduce costs elsewhere. So the trade-off, the three big things in this are your bus fuel, textbook adoption, the Chromebook purchase, other technology.
So fuel's in that?
Bus fuel, yep.
Okay.
Do we have a decent price locked in for fuel right now, and when does that expire?
Yeah, what's the purchasing on that, Mike? I know we're ahead of the game, like we were ahead of the big spike that we had. Then I think we're slower coming back off of that spike.
We have a,
It's on.
okay, we have an agreement where we get, I believe it's like 7 cents above the wholesale price. And the net result with that is that right now you see gas is like, I don't know,
$3.50 this morning.
well,
That was for
diesel
unleaded. That
though
was
is
for
about
unleaded,
another
right.
$1.50 above that. But anyway, we're normally 70 cents lower than the market price for diesel. For gasoline, which we don't go through near as much gasoline, but for gasoline, we're about 30 cents a gallon.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
So, any questions on the general fund? Like I said, we'll have a forecast update next month. It's continuing to trend well. Nothing in these expenditure estimates other than supplies are anything over what we were forecasting or expecting. This is to be expected. We'll continue to see a little bit of a bump there because new salaries really just took place September and then October, so we've only really had 2 months of the increased salaries for the most part. Cash balance, general fund, 46.1 million. Look at it from last year, it's up 4.9 million year over year. Investments are back. Star Ohio, who we pretty much house, it's kind of our checking depository, is up to 3%. Mr. Watson and I kind of looked back over the last 10 years. 2.55% was the highest that they had been in the last 10 years. So 3% is good. I don't know if that's great for the economy or bad for the economy. So I don't know. We'll see what if the federal government keeps raising the rates at an alarming rate. If it goes up too quick, we could fold like a house of cards. So hopefully everything stabilizes. I know the mortgage rates are still, 6-7%. They're up there pretty high. So something's got to give at some point. Just want to be prepared for when that bottom does kind of fall out. Health insurance. Year over year, last year we had historically our worst 3 months that we've ever had in July, August, and September. You can see that even with the bad 3 months we had last year, we are almost break even from an expenditure standpoint. All that really shows is the trend of healthcare costs are increasing. It's not really saying our utilization is going up. It's just saying that healthcare costs are going up, and we do expect that to continue. The pandemic, I think, really hurt the healthcare industry, and now it's just starting to catch up with their expenses. So we would expect this to continue. Still performing well year over year with a cash balance of 2.8 million. Any questions on any of the financials that were attached to the board agenda?
Sound. And you said next month we're going to do our 5-year forecast, so I know that's when the update will really get changed, or we'll see some changes. So, all right. Does anyone have any other questions for Mr. Roberts? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And now we're going to move on to our superintendent's report.
Thank you.
Mrs. Hunt?
Thank you very much, Mr. Butler. First, I just want to start off and introduce our Superintendent Student Advisory Council representative tonight. And Carter, I do not want to mispronounce your last name. So can you say it real quick for me? Merrill. All right. I was going to get it wrong. So Carter Merrill, thank you for joining us tonight. Prior to this meeting, we just finished our first in-person Student of the Quarter since 2020. And to say that I had a grin on my face probably from ear to ear as those students walked across the stage and watched the parents just excited that their students were being recognized. So just one example of us getting back to our normal. We are getting back to our field trips at the buildings. Volunteers are now able to come back into the buildings, and celebrations are coming back. So again, that's just one example, and it was exciting to have those individuals being recognized back in person. I would also like to just briefly mention at the beginning of October, Officer Keith Mallory with Madison Township joined the district to serve as school resource officer. The addition of Officer Mallory will continue to provide the district and the schools with additional security and safety. Officer Mallory and Deputy Myers have been collaborating and working together throughout the last few weeks, and we are excited to have both of them just continue to provide those resources to the district. On Tuesday, October 25th, the district will host our business luncheon. Work-based learning coordinator Kristen Ankrum has worked hard to organize and bring businesses to the district, which allows us to build relationships and collaborate with the businesses in our district and locally. That allows us to provide opportunities to our students and provide opportunities to the businesses. We will be holding our first building advisory committee meeting at the same time as the business luncheon, and we are looking at revamping how we offer that building advisory committee meeting, so that is something that you will hear more about in the future. And that is all I have for you at this time.
Does anyone have any additional questions for Mrs. Hunt? If not, thank you very much, Mrs. Hunt.
Thank you.
All right, and then we're going to move on to district reports. Are there any questions this evening about the district reports?
I have a couple of questions on the reports. On the Indian Trail report, one of the paragraphs mentioned that we have 98 second grade students. That accounts for about 34% of our students that are showing a one grade level deficit in math. Do we
Mr. Rib.
have Yep.
Sorry, I sneezed.
No, that's fine.
Get out of here.
On your report, one of the paragraphs in there was talking about 98 second grade students showing a one grade level deficit in math. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, we haven't dove into all the data too much yet, but that was based off Michelle Good. Michelle Good is our math RTI teacher.
Right.
Based off two of our assessments, our iReady, which is our new math program. There was a probably kindergarten. I just looked at it this morning. I mean, we're about a grade behind in kindergarten first and second, about 80%.
Okay.
So Michelle Good, our RTI math teacher, we're trying to come up with a plan to meet the needs of our students, and it's still COVID related. We
Okay.
still have, it's still in math and in reading. Goal is to continue to reach the students with our tier 1 instruction, which means a whole class through differentiated learning, math centers, and so forth. We have some second grade math teachers that are doing flex learning with math also. So one teacher takes a group ability level to meet them at their needs and try to just meet our students at their needs right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I too had a question about that. I know the report mentioned that you were utilizing the Bridges Intervention curriculum. Is that what you just spoke to?
Yeah, that's Michelle Good uses the Bridges Intervention. It's a really good intervention program to fill the gaps of that we are seeing in our students right now.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering about how effective it is.
Well, this is only our second year with Math RTI. I know this, we kind of pushed for it last year. We got Michelle Good, luckily, halfway through the year. And we are starting to see great results. She has a lot of great ideas and initiatives she's pushing forward. She also pushes into the classroom to support the teachers and meet the needs within the classroom too. So, but we do have quite a few high numbers of students that are behind, both in reading and in math.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
I've got one question about that. Sorry. Since they're behind, when will they be reevaluated to determine what the progress is of getting them caught up?
It's a great question. We take the screeners 3 times a year. Now, if they are getting like RTI, whether it's an RTI is like Title I reading or Title I math services, they assess about every 4 weeks. So we have different screeners, quick screeners, get us that data. And we do have students that actually move out of certain Title I groups, and other students go in based on the growth that we see. By the time the end of the year comes, so we do a winter screener through iReady and through our MAP, which you've heard of NWA MAP scores, and then we do another screener at the end of the year. And our RTI teachers meet about every 6 weeks to reevaluate.
Just, can you keep us updated
Sure.
on that progress as
Yeah.
we go through?
Absolutely. Sorry, I didn't have the specific numbers, but
That's all right.
yeah, I can give you more numbers later.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm. Anyone else?
I will add, the one thing, if you guys recall last year, mid-year, we added some positions, and then even moving into this year, there was a lot, I mean, we added a pretty solid amount of positions, and those positions are more for intervention than they are a classroom teacher. So it is being able to either pull out the students who are showing below grade level or pushing into a classroom to try to meet the students where they're at. So when you look at the number of additions, it's not so much take 300 kids, divide by the class size of 25, and that's what we should get. You're seeing the number increase because of those interventions that Mr. Riddle talked about. And the need is obviously there if you're looking at the data.
Any other additional questions about the district reports this evening?
Yep, I'm sorry, I'm not done.
Okay.
Apologies. In the curriculum report, it mentioned there was a one of the items that's being added, and it sounds like this was a state addition or additional requirement, was some training or some teaching called student interactions with peace officers. And when I look through that slideshow, I mean, it's like 16 pages of text. Do we have any idea how much time that's going to take in the classroom?
Sorry, you do have to come up, Deb.
It's all very new, but talking to other districts and looking at the lessons, there's 4 sections that have to be covered. Probably 3 to 4 lessons, or 3 to 4 periods. So yeah.
Okay. So like what, 3 or 4 hours? Does that equate to 3 or 4 hours over the course of a year, or
Over the course of a year.
Okay.
Yeah, so it would be our freshman class would be the first graduating class that is responsible for going through that training.
Okay.
But again, we have a little bit of time because we're thinking we're going to do it in our government classes.
Okay.
Which is junior year. Also, that way it aligns with what the Career Center will do, and most likely they're talking about doing it in their government classes. So we think we can fit it in there, and it's most appropriate because it kind of goes a little bit with what they're studying in that class as well.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. And then one more question from the mental health report. They had a service snapshot in the mental health report. Do we know if that was if that snapshot was for September, or is it month to date October? And how does it relate to previous snapshots? And if we don't have somebody from mental health here, that's fine. I
So
can
we do
follow up.
not, I will get you that answer. I will say that this is the first time we've put the
Right.
mental health report on. I think last month it might have been on there as well. So I will get information on if he's doing it month by month or if it's from the prior board meeting to the next one.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then the only other thing, not related to the district reports, but maybe related, since we have 2 SROs now, would it be worthwhile having an SRO report added to the district reports? Or is that, I don't know, maybe that's something that we need to keep outside of the board agenda? I'm not sure.
We'll talk about it
Okay.
to see if it would be something that we'd want to have as a board report or if it's something we'd want to keep internal.
Yeah.
I will let you know that Chief York has chatted with me and said that he generally gives a monthly report to the superintendent to distribute to the board.
Okay.
So that would be something that I would need to talk to Fairfield County about if
Okay.
that's something that they could do as well.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm done.
Any other additional questions?
I had a few comments. I know our district has been doing wonderful things, and I just wanted to take this time to recognize the middle school band for progressing towards actually playing a song. It seems like they were really excited about that. And all the other Leader in Me and Portrait of a Graduate activities that are going on throughout each of the buildings. I know we heard from Mr. Moore today, but I know that there are a variety of activities that each building has the students engaged in. I did want to point out that there is a need for mentors for the high school students through the Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and Big Futures program. And I was wondering, has this information been added to our social media platform so that people who are interested, who visit the sites, you know, that they have a way to volunteer? So that was one of my questions.
And I think
do know it's-
I think I saw that in one of the high school newsletters.
It's been both.
Yep.
It's been both in the newsletter. It's been both in my newsletter that goes out. I think it's been in there for 2 or 3 weeks. It's also been separately posted to our social media accounts to
Okay.
intentionally, get to people that maybe aren't reading my newsletter.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Hey,
Good.
Ms. Warren, on your newsletter, and this would be maybe something to push out on our social medias. So I've had a problem with both the middle school and the high school newsletter where it started going to my junk email. And then I noticed somewhere on one of the Facebook posts, and I don't know if it was on one of the local pages or what, but several parents said they had the same thing. And I even had a problem where I reported it as not junk, so it came to my email, and then like 2 weeks later, it was going back into my junk file. So it might just be something to bring to parents' attentions.
Yeah, that might be related to, we switched to Blackboard.
Yep.
And we've had some issues kind of working through. So I'll talk to Megan Anthony about that as well
Okay.
to see what we can do to make sure that that's
And
not
that-
happening, because
And
that
that's
would
in
be a
my,
problem.
yeah, that's in my Gmail account, so I don't have any weird rules set up in that one that I'm aware of.
All right, thank you. I will check into it.
Thank you.
And lastly, I just wanted to acknowledge our athletic teams. They've been really moving full stream ahead with a lot of victories that they've given us and a lot of records that were broken. And girls golf team, excellent. Girls tennis. I'm happy to hear about the leadership that's being included with the soccer team. That's awesome. Boys football. I really enjoyed attending some of my first football games, and my girls were mini cheerleaders, so they really were excited about that, and especially when they got lifted up in the air. But I just really love just what the students are doing, and they're really representing Canal Winchester in a great, magnificent way. So I just wanted to commend them for that, and Mr. Durbin, and all the teachers as well. That's all that I had as far as the district report.
All right, that's it for the district reports, and we are going to go ahead and move on to the consent agenda. So I am going to need a motion on the consent agenda this evening.
So moved.
And I will second that one.
All right, thank you. So number 1 on the consent agenda is the minutes from the September board meeting. Number 2, looking at certified personnel, we do have several contract adjustment rescissions. Those are all for the master teacher stipend. We did have an error in the list that we were provided. We also have leave of absences. And moving on to number 3, classified personnel, we do have a resignation from a bus driver again. We are continuing to work and replace the bus drivers, just to put the message out again. We are also doing a push to try to get more drivers again into the district. So if anybody knows anybody that would like to be a driver, please contact Dr. Bruning or myself, and we will get you to the correct individuals to apply. We have a leave of absence request as well under classified personnel, and then we have several recommendations. We have 2 bus aides, a custodian, and a paraprofessional. And then we also are approving several substitute classified individuals. Moving on to number 4, our supplemental personnel. We have several. We're hiring for the winter season, so you'll notice that there is a long list there. we have volunteers, and we have our stipends for the winter season. Moving on to number 5, we're asking you to approve a private tuition contract for Eagle Wings. And number 6, we have 2 early graduation requests. And that is all we have.
Thank you, Ms. Hunt. Are there any questions this evening about the consent agenda? Okay. If there are no questions, Mr. Roberts?
Mr. Krueger?
Yes.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Ms. Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. George?
Yes.
Ms. Talley?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. And we're going to move on to our action items. So first up is the CRA and the TIF resolution for Violet Township. So I'm going to need a motion to approve the CRA property tax exemption and incremental financing of real estate property exemption in connection with the creation of Fairfield County of a community reinvestment area for the creation of community reinvestment area in certain portions of unincorporated areas of Violet Township and approving certain related matters. So I'm going to need a motion on action item number 1.
So move.
I'll second that one. Mr. Roberts?
So this one's a little bit different than what we've been approving in the past. The ones with the city were already zoned, CRA, or a different process. This with the township is territory behind Kingies. Here's a map, but it's very, you're fitting a large area in a very small zone. So the green space is the township is creating a JED which can tax employees in that JED district. So the township doesn't actually have the income tax. When they create a JED, they then can take the local city's income tax, which is 2%, tax any employee working in this green area. As part of this CRA TIF, we will receive pilot payments, equivalent or right in line with what we've been receiving from the projects with the city of Canal, Winchester. We will receive a portion of the income tax from the township in this JED property. Not to mention the real estate property value will increase tremendously. Right now, most of this is zoned as CAUV for agricultural, which is the lowest level of appraisal values that you can have. So it will immediately jump once it gets zoned over to commercial. They do have one project that is looking to build in our school district alone. That agreement will come separately. So this agreement is basically approving the CRA and the TIF and the revenue agreement terms, and then for this whole area for us. The township had to work with many different entities. The county's involved. The JED gets, or the county gets a share. The city gets a share. JVS gets a share. You got Bloom Carroll that has a piece of this. Pickerington has a piece of this, and then our school district has a piece of this. So agreements had to be worked within the JED for all three. I obviously pushed for a higher percentage of income tax, but when the other two schools are fine with the income tax share, it's kind of hard to trump what other agreements and what other people are trying to do. So I did push them as hard as we could to get obviously more revenue for the school district. But the pilot payment is going to generate quite a bit of revenue. The first projection is about a 700,000 square foot project will generate just under $320,000 in total revenue.
And that's our portion.
That's our portion.
So there's another, is it a third, or is it different depending on?
No, it'll be this. It'll depend. It's all. Every school is getting 19 cents per square foot. So it
Every
depends
school
on the
is,
size
okay.
of the project, and every school district's getting close to the 10% in income tax share, and the real estate values are based on whatever the county auditor has. So I shared this with the board in email. Wanted to bring it up to show kind of the impact that the current CRA agreements are having from these warehouses. So from left to right, this was the order that the board has approved these CRA agreements. You can see we started off at 40,000, have quickly grown to 100,000, 150,000, and then 133. But that, the last two are really just, they're the same per square foot on the cents. It's just North Point 2 is a much larger project. It's up over 1 million square feet. But as far as the cents per square foot, they're equivalent. So you can see the impact per year that these warehouses are going to have on the district's revenue that will be posted to miscellaneous other moving into the future. This is during the abatement period. So when you look at other projects that we have, I'm not going to name them, but we don't have anything in place. So they're there, they're 100% abated, and we don't receive any money from some of those already in place. So these we're picking up close to $1 million probably by the time the warehouse projects that I know about are completed, which is substantial. And then once they fall off, they'll be on our tax duplicate after year 15. So you'll pick up full real estate value. Just to give you an idea of where this project is going, this current land value is somewhere in the neighborhood of $150,000. Once it switches to commercial and they build on it, the land value will be probably in excess of $8 million. So the land value is not, you can't abate the land value. So once these get switched over, you pick up the additional land value because of its commercial usage. So any questions on the CRA TIF agreement that we're asking you to approve? Here's the key terms if you want to look at. Kind of spells it out for you.
So in the green, that's where people work, not where they live, that they're getting taxed.
Correct.
Where the work is. Okay.
Yep. So it will operate almost exactly the same as if they're working in the city of Canal, Winchester. So if they're working in this JED area that's being established, then they will have the 2% working income tax.
Which will just grow when there's more building, commercial buildings there. That will just continue to grow because right now, probably not generating or not much because it's all farmland.
No, about 15,000 a year.
Okay.
Yep, and this is us. The light green is us. So this border coming down, over, around. So this whole green area
Okay.
right here is Canal Winchester School District. Get into Bloom, then this is Pickerington School District.
So the spreadsheet that you sent us had all those falling off at 15 years, but when I was reading through the contract, it said that they could do a tax abatement for up to 30. How does it change, or does it change if they do a full abatement for 30 years?
Yeah, every project we do is a non-school TIF, so the abatement is for 30 years. But the abatement's only in place for 15 years for the school. Year 16, we start picking up full values.
Okay.
The abatement would remain on the tax portion for the city, the township, the county,
Okay.
and every other entity.
Okay.
On the Fairfield County side, we make up about 60% of the taxes, so the developer would still save about 40% of their tax bill through the abatement for the full 30 years.
And just for instance, once something comes off that, like in 2037, that North Point 1, I mean, right now, looks like we're getting about 140,000. When it falls off, I mean, what is your expectation of that will generate?
It'll generate at probably a minimum of $250,000 because the values will be upwards of $30 million on each of these projects. Our commercial value, to give you some indication of this development and growth, we're probably right around 22 million total commercial value. So one of these are equivalent to what our commercial is at right now.
I mean, that's just tremendous funding, sustainable funding.
I think that sets us up for that long-term stability we
Yeah,
had talked
yeah.
about. Because that's revenue that we're picking up, and we're not asking additional tax revenue from our voters, so it keeps us off the ballot, and it keeps us at the ability to provide those high-level services. So I know we talked about doing different things with facilities and things like that. So all this just kind of gives us the ability to do that stuff long-term, as opposed to lurching from kind of, tax, going out and asking for taxes constantly for taxpayers, which is what we don't want. So that's awesome.
I mean, if a community doesn't develop, then your real estate values are going to stay stagnant. The only two ways to grow is through development and reappraisals. Reappraisals are only picking up values at that point in time, and a lot of times they don't pick up new revenues because of the taxing setup in Ohio. In Central Ohio, we are seeing the growth because people are moving here in the homes. I just looked at a report today. Median sales price, I think there was 23 home sales in our school district in September. The median sale price was $305,000. I mean, when I first started working here 7 years ago, I think the median was right around $180,000. So real estate values are growing at an unprecedented rate, and at some point, I mean, they're going to slow. But with Intel coming into town, I'm not sure we're looking at any slowdown in the next 20 years. Obviously, people have to have places to live, so I have a feeling some of these places are going to start being developed into more residential and not warehouses. We kind of got lucky with this. I mean, that could have been developed as residential and brought in significantly more students for the district. Warehouses aren't popular, but if you're going to choose a development to happen, you want the commercial growth over the residential growth.
And you don't want to lose the property altogether either. So you get
Correct.
either.
Yeah, as the case is in this property here.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
No additional questions? Mr. Roberts?
Mr. George?
Yes.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Ms. Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. Krueger?
Yes.
Sally?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. And then we're going to move on to action item number 2, which is going to be the school calendar final reading. So I am going to need a motion on action item number 2.
So moved.
Second.
Yep, thank you. So last month, we presented the calendar, and we're bringing it back for final approval. There's information that the 10th and the 11th of August next year will be new staff work days. 14th and the 15th will be full staff work days, and then the 16th would be the first day for students. And again, we will have the staggered start, so we will this year do a much better job of making sure that everybody understands it's the first day of school for, and that would be basically first through 5th grade, 6th grade, and 9th grade. And then the Thursday would be the first day for 10th through 12th, and 7th and 8th graders, and then kindergarten would come in a little bit later, and preschool would come in. And then you'll notice that we do have professional development days. This year, we threw a lot of them in the beginning of the year. We staggered them out, so they are throughout the school year, which allows us some flexibility in providing different professional development opportunities that arise throughout the school year. The holiday break would be start December 21st and go through January 3rd. Spring break would be the first week of April. And the last day of school would be May 30th.
You did make a change on the holiday break during December, didn't you?
We did
That's-
not.
That's
Nope.
the same?
Yes, this is the same. Yeah, we had talked, the question came up about it being 2 full weeks and the staggered time that we talked
Okay.
about it being shorter weeks to come back for.
I think it looks good to me.
Yeah, looks good.
Thank you.
Right. Are there any additional questions about the 2023-2024 school calendar? Okay, if not, Mr. Roberts?
Ms. Sally?
Yes.
Mr. Krueger?
Yes.
Ms. Barnes?
Yes.
Butler?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. And then we're gonna move on. Is there a need to enter an executive session this evening?
There is not.
Okay, if there's no need to enter an executive session, do we have any announcements? Okay, if there's no announcements, I need a motion to adjourn this evening.
Motion to adjourn.
Second, yeah.
All right. Mr. Roberts?
Krueger?
Yes.
Ms. Barnes?
Yes.
Butler?
Yes.
Mr. George?
Yes.
Sally?
Yes.
Passes 5-0, and we are adjourned at 7:50 p.m.